do not have an intro song. Like, here we go. We're about to start talking about stuff. Please buckle in and be ready for information, because it's coming your way if you continue to watch this video. Still having some experience on how to personally navigate adversity is like something I think should be required of counselors, and if they're not able to do that, then I feel like, that should be part of the training. Like, hello, welcome to my channel. It's a nice little rainy day over here. We've got the cat sleeping in the window, and I have a really important topic to talk about, so we're going to dive in pretty quickly. Since we are going to be talking about privilege, it's important to recognize that me, the speaker, I know that I come with a lot of privilege. I am a white, cis-presenting woman, and one of the benefits I've received in life have nothing necessarily to do with my abilities, but a lot to do with what I look like, and that is stupid, frankly. So today we're just going to talk about counseling specific. The amount of privilege that it requires to obtain a counseling license and become a professional counselor is such a barrier to entry that we are truly lacking beneficial, genuine experience in the field. Obviously, there's some really, really great counselors out there in general. There's also not. And a lot of this has to do with the privilege that is required to become a counselor outside of becoming a coach, which is an unlicensed field, like a life coach or something like that. You're going to need other credentials of some sort to do something with that knowledge if you don't obtain the license. Also, I'm still kind of building my channel, so if you are on here and you're able to hit that subscribe button, it's free. It would really help me out. Post stuff like this, and I do art and crochet and stuff like that. There's a privilege problem. Let's try that again. There's a privilege problem. So according to a study, there are 3 main barriers to enter the profession. They brought up points that I have heard my classmates bring up. So let's just go ahead and name the 3. Number 1, money. Hello, it's so expensive. School is expensive. In order to attend school, you have to not only pay money to go, of course, but if you are attending a class for whatever it is, 3 hours, 3.5 hours, practicum was an 8-hour long class. Internship, you're expected to basically provide at least 20 to 30 hours a week of your time, and all of that's of course unpaid, and you're paying for the classes, so it's like a double negative because you're not taking in money, you're spending money, and you're also not getting paid for your labor. That's kind of the way the counseling profession is set up. It's set up also to where if you do manage to get licensed and you're an associate, you get paid much less than once you no longer have that associate when you're just an LPC. It's really expensive, and I don't know if it should be there ought to be some sort of programs where you get paid for your internship, or you at least get a stipend for driving. I don't know, something. So number 2, licensure process and barriers and the ambiguity. My, that was a tough one. The ambiguity involved in actually getting a license. And myself, as much as I like to do research and understand the steps, because anxiety, I still graduated and looked again at the list of things that I needed to do to obtain my license now that I have my master's that I paid for and did all these unpaid hours, etc. And still there were 2 things on the list that I was I don't remember ever hearing about these things. Can there not be some time spent in one of these classes that just I don't understand. I just don't understand. I made a whole video about the licensure process because I was a little overwhelmed of I didn't actually realize how this worked. So what if I could make a video that at least explains how to obtain your license for realsies, semi step by step in an ADHD fashion, with honest random personal experience peppered throughout. And again, it's personal experience, right? Of course, as this white woman, I experience the world differently than some of my peers. Number 3, professional exclusion and a lack of support. There's minimal to no mentorship when it comes to a lot of professional counseling programs. At one point, that person that was my advisor, they quit for good reason. the person that replaced them, like, I don't know, I just like didn't, I had a bad experience with them, and I didn't really want them to be my advisor, but I wasn't comfortable reaching out to tell the head person that like I wasn't comfortable, because I didn't want to cause trouble, because I know that causing trouble is really scary when it comes to obtaining something like a degree. The people in charge, I had heard already that they are not necessarily super fair. In my experience with this particular person I was assigned to, I was like, yeah, this is, I'm not going to reach out to them for advising. And I also don't feel comfortable reaching out to the program director to ask for a different advisor. Anyway, and that's my experience. I know that some of my peers experienced some really awful things by people who are supposed to be professional and like leaders. Nobody should be abandoned for sharing their true experience. It's just not fair. I don't know how else to explain it. It's not fair. I don't know what else to do about it besides talk about it, and until I, get into a position of power. The stuff that I witnessed at school was some BS. Sometimes when you're in a profession for like 20, 30, 40 years, whatever it might be, like you might need a little bit of a refresh. And who better to let you know the information of what's actually true and correct and what's going on than your current students, who are professional graduate students that know their shit. These are educated people who care about what's going on, and they're fresh with energy, with curiosity, with excitement. And to see professors shut them down and also shut down, it's just, okay. I didn't exactly see that, but I heard. And nobody should be concerned about like repercussions because they just wanted to share an experience that they had that was on topic and very important for others to hear about. And that's our job as counselors, is to sit when it's uncomfortable. Especially counselors are supposed to sit and feel and think, do research and ponder and journal, whatever that counselor needs to do to get over the barrier of being biased towards your client, towards your student. Counselors are supposed to sit with that uncomfortability, knowing that this sometimes will happen unknowingly. Like maybe I, in the future, will enter a room and somebody will end up looking like my stepmother, and I might have some sort of internal reaction that I need to manage in order to take in this brand new person who has nothing to do with my stepmother. Does that make sense? So us counselors are human, and sometimes we accidentally bring things into the room, and our job as professional counselors is to notice when that happens and stop it. Stop it. And take it out of the room later and look at it then. If we think that our reaction or our lack of knowledge harmed our client, we need to address that and tell them, I am so sorry, and tell them what you're going to do to fix it. Do not ask your client to educate you. Just be a little humble. You don't want to tear yourself down, but you want to be honest. Like, here's what I noticed happened. I think that was not the intention. However, the impact, blah, 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 like that matters. And again, here's what I'm going to do to change. It really should be a simple thing and a more common thing that we do, because accountability matters. The counseling profession is fundamentally built on addressing mental health, wellness, and social needs of diverse populations. However, the racial and ethnic demographics of the counseling profession continue to lag behind those of the U.S. population, particularly in professional visibility, leadership, and scholarly representation. I know this is a pretty niche group of people that might be watching this, but if you're into counseling, or if you're being counseled by somebody, like, do you have a therapist? You might be interested in, like, how are they educated? How does this work? Did you ask your counselor why they're in the field? Because I think that's a pretty good question to ask somebody as you're looking to get them as a counselor. So a lot of people end up having to figure out the profession alone for the most part. Sometimes people are able to group together with other students, and that helps, of course, but that shouldn't have to be the case. Like, there should be support for students built in to a program that costs like 45 plus K. Like, it should be already there. The emotional burden of alleged incompetence by peers. So imagine you're sitting in class and your professor asks a discussion question. Let's say we're talking about addiction, and the question to the class is like, What is your view on addiction? Say someone in there says something not right. It's not correct information, and it's harmful information, and it's also like biased in so many ways. Like, let's say that someone thinks that you have to break down all the way and be torn down before you're able to recover from an addiction, which is incorrect. And also, there's been a lot of harm done on this topic. It's been studied extensively that it definitely shouldn't be a part of any sort of recovery program to tear people down. It feels like a burden. Like, there is a need to educate and correct and help make that person, like, help bridge that person towards the kinder and more scientifically correct information. And that happens all the time. And that's just that example. Like, imagine, I don't know, anything with just, people don't generally understand. A lot of times people don't think before they speak. They don't realize the impact that they could have just with their words alone. And as future professional counselors, we're still learning about this in school, how to word things. And so it is almost placed on us as a duty to talk to one another about how things are interpreted, and that is a shitty thing to place on students, because of course it's going to more so land on those who are more marginalized, because those are the experiences that are most likely to be misunderstood. There's a need for culturally responsive and inclusive counseling, and because of all these barriers, there's a lot of white people that are professional counselors who don't fully understand their privilege. There just needs to be way more accountability in all parts of our system. Like, there's so much underrepresentation. We work within white dominant systems constantly, and the only way to really change that is to help break down the barriers to entry to counseling, or in fact encourage people who have more barriers to entry to enter counseling, because in my opinion, those are the people who make the best counselors, are those who have been through all these things. I just see a lot of people going straight from undergrad to graduate, and they just don't seem to have a lot of lived experience sometimes. But there's not a ton of oversight when it comes to professional counselors once you get to that level. Everyone is overwhelmed because the system is overwhelmed, which is why it doesn't make sense that there are so many barriers to enter, because we need more counselors. In these times, it's kind of hard to get funding. What do you think? Have you been through a professional counseling program? Do you have a counselor or have a counseling experience where you're like, wow, that person has never experienced anything and does not know how to take my trauma story? I've had a couple of counseling experiences like that were like, oh, wow, this person seems a little overwhelmed by what I've been telling them. Institutional barriers, the licensure process barriers, and the professional exclusion, they keep out a lot of good people. And I'm so proud of the people who make it through these sorts of programs, myself included. Every single person who's made it through these programs, do what you can to continue your expansion. Continue to have your ears open and your eyes open, and take notice of what's going on around you. Please speak up. We need more people to speak up gently or not so gently, depending on the situation. I know everyone always feels like a tattletale and it doesn't fit the societal norms, whatever, but like, I think if some sort of harm or some sort of extreme lack of information that is going to cause harm is occurring, more people need to step up to correct. It doesn't, not like in a mean way. My name is Jessie. I really appreciate you hanging out with me today on this nice rainy day and with such a important topic. So please, again, make sure you like and follow and subscribe or whatever I'm supposed to say. And I hope that you have a wonderful day wherever you are. Please take care of yourself. Should we do it? Is there an exit jingle I'm supposed to do? I don't know why oh my gosh, sorry, this is ridiculous.